Napoleon's transition from the rugged landscapes of Corsica to the intellectual and disciplined environment of mainland France marked one of the most formative periods of his youth. After several years at the Military Academy of Brienne, where he developed a foundation in mathematics, history, and basic military sciences, he was accepted into the École Militaire in Paris in 1784. This institution represented the pinnacle of military education in France and was reserved for those destined to become the nation's future officers. Paris was a world far removed from Ajaccio or the quiet corridors of Brienne. The capital was energetic, cultured, and politically charged, brimming with intellectual debates and lingering tensions that hinted at the approaching revolution. For a 16-year-old who had grown used to isolation and mockery, this new environment was both exhilarating and intimidating. The city was both intimidating and invigorating. At the École Militaire, Napoleon entered the artillery program, one of the most rigorous and mathematically demanding tracks in the academy. Artillery officers were expected to master geometry, physics, ballistics, and engineering, fields that required precision, discipline, and analytical thinking. These were the areas where Napoleon excelled most naturally. His instructors quickly recognized that he possessed not just aptitude, but genuine brilliance. His routine during this period was intense and structured. Days were consumed by calculations, studies, training exercises, and examinations. Nights were spent reading, often voraciously and without rest. He dove into history, philosophy, political theory, and military strategy. He read works on Alexander the Great, Frederick the Great, Caesar, and countless other figures whose legacies shaped the trajectories of nations. He wasn't reading as a passive student. He was studying them as if preparing for future competition. Despite the potential for social opportunities, Napoleon remained distant from his peers. His accent, mannerisms, and Corsican background continued to set him apart, and he rarely tried to conceal his disdain for the sons of wealthier French families, whom he considered soft or unserious. His instructors noted his self-containment and quiet determination. They also recorded his ambition, a trait that was neither hidden nor subtle. Napoleon made it clear from a young age that he intended to rise, no matter the obstacles in front of him. Financial difficulties pressed hard on the Bonaparte family during this time. Carlo's health had declined, and his political maneuverings had drained their resources. This meant Napoleon was forced to live frugally, often more frugally than his peers. He slept alone, kept a bare room, and spent money only on books. The hardship, though severe, became yet another layer in the discipline that shaped him. In letters to his family, he expressed frustration at their economic struggles, but also a deep sense of responsibility for their future. In 1785, less than a year after his arrival, Napoleon completed the entire 2-year École Militaire curriculum in just 12 months, a remarkable achievement. He graduated as a second lieutenant in the artillery, joining the elite ranks of France's technical officers. His first assignment was with the La Regiment, one of the most respected artillery units in the army. Yet his rapid rise through academics did not immediately translate to financial stability or comfort. His salary as a junior officer was modest, and he found himself constantly calculating how to stretch it far enough to support not only himself, but also the growing needs of his family back in Corsica. He often wrote to his mother, encouraging her to maintain discipline and reminding her that he would soon improve their fortunes. During these early military years, Napoleon sharpened his tactical mind. He studied every aspect of artillery, the placement of cannons, set quarters, and doctrinate set points, the timing of volleys, the construction of fortifications, and the logistical challenges of moving heavy equipment across different terrains. The artillery was the scientific heart of warfare, and mastering it required the combination of intellect and practicality, qualities that would later define his strategic genius. The young officer also developed strong opinions about leadership. He believed commanders should rise by merit rather than birthright, that armies should be mobile and adaptable, and that victory came from speed as much as strength. These ideas aligned perfectly with the revolutionary spirit that was beginning to sweep through France, even though Napoleon himself had not yet publicly aligned with any political faction. His time in the French army also exposed him to the broader social conflicts brewing beneath the surface of society. The inequality between officers of noble birth and those of modest origins was palpable. Napoleon's experiences with class barriers further fueled his ambition and his desire to see a system where talent outweighed aristocratic privilege. He resented the entrenched hierarchies and saw in them the seeds of France's coming upheaval. Meanwhile, Napoleon remained deeply attached to Corsica. He took leave whenever possible to return home, becoming involved in local politics and continuing to admire, at least for a time, the leadership of Pasquale Paoli. Yet these ties would soon become complicated. Napoleon's growing alignment with French identity, particularly the opportunities and power it offered, brought him into conflict with Paoli's nationalist movement. The death of his father in 1785 had a profound effect on him. Carlo's passing thrust Napoleon into a role of unexpected responsibility. At just 16, he became the de facto head of the family. The pressure hardened him, forcing him to confront adulthood earlier than most. Supporting his siblings and guiding the family's future became central motivations in his life. By the late 1780s, France itself was becoming unstable. Economic crises, food shortages, and political disputes were escalating. The old order was beginning to fracture, and the tensions that simmered across the country would soon erupt into revolution. As Napoleon continued his service and studies, he was unknowingly preparing himself for the exact moment when the existing hierarchy would collapse and the army would need new leaders who were competent, decisive, and unbound by aristocratic lineage. Napoleon's experiences at Brienne and the École Militaire formed the foundation of his identity, not just as a soldier, but as a man who believed he was destined for greatness. His mastery of artillery gave him a technical edge. His relentless education gave him intellectual depth. His isolation forged resilience, and his ambition burned brighter than ever. These formative years set the stage for everything that would follow. The young lieutenant, now fully trained and sharpened by discipline, stood at the threshold of a country on the verge of revolution. What he could not have predicted was how quickly that revolution would thrust him into the highest realms of power.